Skadoosh, everybody, and welcome back to Cinema Dude. Today we're going to be reviewing Kung Fu Panda 4. Now, this movie follows Po as he goes on a journey to become the spiritual leader as a shape-shifting sorcerer villain approaches. And that's all I'm going to be talking about in the first half of this video, because I'm going to keep it spoiler-free for the first half and spoilers for the second half. So go ahead and watch this video about halfway through. And then at the end, well, click off, because the reason I'm doing the second half spoilers is because there's a lot I want to get off my chest about this movie. Because honestly, I've seen people saying that this is the weakest out of the three. Now, I do have a pretty major gripe and complaint about this movie. I don't think that. I think Kung Fu Panda 3 is the weakest, but there's really not been a bad Kung Fu Panda movie. They've all been like 10 out of 10s. Or not 10 out of 10s. The first two were 10 out of 10s. The second two, or the last two, had not been really. But I still really enjoyed this in the this advertise. Dang it. This entry in the franchise. It came out really, really well in my opinion. And today I'm going to be talking about everything that I want to go ahead and talk about in this review. So here we go. Whoever did the action and fights in this needs to be promoted. Now, as I kick off with my positives here, I've already said the first thing that I want to talk about is the action and fights because of how amazing these were. Like, at one point, at the very beginning of the movie, it's shown that Po is battling a stingray creature. We only see, like, 25% of that fight in the trailer. In the movie, they do it so great with what he's doing and he returning to the Valley of Peace to protect it. And there's multiple other moments in this movie where I'm actually very happy for what's happening in the action sequences. Like, there's a scene where Po and Zen are escaping from one of the villages, and that goes really well. And Tai Lung, we already know he's going to be in the movie. His action sequence in here was just like amazing and phenomenal. Once again, they did not show much of him in the trailers other than that clone version of him, and I was decently surprised with what he got to do in the movie. And there's parts where I've seen people frustrated with about Tai Lung, where he's saying things that he wouldn't usually say, and I don't 100% think, that sucks, I'm going to take that out the movie. I'm very mixed on that whole area. You'll see what I'm talking about in the spoiler half, but we're not talking about that. The character of Zen as a whole, I know her controversies and people aren't liking her. I liked her as a character, but what they did with her and some of the choices they made with her arc wasn't all that interesting, and that's one of my takeaways from the movie. Another one that I want to talk about, the subplot with Po's real dad and his adopted father was really fun to watch. How they were like bonding throughout the movie, and it was just so funny. We didn't even really get that much of it in the trailers, and here it's really spotlighted. One other thing that I do want to go ahead and touch upon is this Furious 5 sub thing. Well, they kind of have an appearance. I'll talk about that in my spoiler review with the Furious 5. I just wanted to get that out of the way. The other thing that I really liked about this movie was the villain herself. By no means is she like a Tai Lung, but I say she's the second closest thing to it because she has one of the coolest action sequences ever with her transformations into these older past villains like Tai Lung. And then when she transforms into Po, that action sequence is awesome. And I really like that part of the movie. When it comes to Master Shifu himself, he was actually in the movie more than I expected him to be. And you know what? What Master Shifu got to do was awesome, in my opinion. Everything that Master Shifu got to do in this movie just hit a high note for me. And I was a big fan of Master Shifu in this movie. And I'm usually not the biggest person who likes Shifu. Even though he was griping at Po most of the movie, he still, I just had a different kind of connection with him this time around, where it's just like, I guess I agree with Master Chief more this movie than I have before. But the last thing I want to talk about in my positives is for this movie to have the lowest budget out of the three, it looks like insanely good. So there's moments in the movie where they'll do these random like fight transition cuts, like when two people are about to team up, they'll show each on each side with different colors, and those shots look amazing. And when they transition them into the actual action scene, they look so much better, in my opinion. And dude, it just like hits on another level, and the comedy in this movie is one thing that I really want to go ahead and shout out and praise. Jack Black is a funny dude in this movie, and the comedy in the Kung Fu Panda movies have always hit for me just the way that it's not very fart-based. There's one fart joke in the movie, and I feel like it's decently funny, where they're making all of these loud noises, and Poe's quiet fart wakes them all up, and that's the only fart joke. The rest of it is entirely, like, fat-based, I guess, because it's insane how many times, like, there's funny jokes in there. Like, there's a joke about an inner voice, a running joke, that actually got really, really funny. There's just times where the movie's just puts in comedy, and I don't know, like, this movie has a ton of, like, funny jokes here and there that aren't fart-based, so that's where I have to hand it off to DreamWorks. Now, going into my negatives, I already mentioned that I like the character of Zen's. Some of her choices that they went on were kind of... I wasn't a fan of what they did with her character, because she goes into an arc and they try to make you feel for her, but at the same time, you really can't. The other one that I'm going to go ahead and throw out there, this might be a little controversial, but I feel like this little underground area of the movie where it shows like this place of crooks and bandits below Jupiter City could have been shortened down a little bit. Okay, I feel like they overused it for some funny jokes. I feel like they could have got out of the way, they could have teamed up and done that mission, and they could have been out of the movie quicker. They pretty much used them to keep their runtime in line. I liked it, but it's just one of my negatives I had with the movie, because some scenes felt like they didn't need to be there. And the other one that I just didn't understand was the villain's motive was kind of weak. I mean, it was okay. It was kind of weak. She was still really cool as a villain, but that motive really shrunk her down, because it was her action sequences that make me like that villain a lot. But, yeah, that's kind of it for my spoiler-free review. I'm going to go ahead and give Kung Fu Panda 4 a 7.5 out of 10. I enjoyed it. I had a good time with it. Yeah, but now I'm about to go ahead and approach spoiler territory. So go ahead and click off of this video if you do not want to be spoiled. Thank you guys for watching. Come back once you have seen Kung Fu Panda 4, because trust me, you're like, it's Kung Fu Panda, what is there to be spoiled? Trust me, there is a lot to be spoiled, and I need to go ahead and get this off my chest. So 3, 2, 1. Okay, so 30 minutes into the movie, it's revealed that Zen was all right. So earlier on in the movie, when she's explaining what happened to her, she says a village local took me in. About 30 minutes into the movie, it's revealed that village local was the villain Chameleon. So 30 minutes into the movie, she goes ahead and betrays Poe after they went on that really cool adventure, and then it all adds up what happened, and the movie doesn't use its context to explain it to you. You kind of have to think it out. The whole reason she robbed from the Jade Palace is so Poe would go tell her, bring her on an adventure, and bring the Staff of Wisdom with them so they could release all the villains from the spirit realm. Well, it turns out Zen had built a little affection for Poe, and that's when they bust out this rule of the streets thing, which I don't know why they felt like they wanted to be boys in the hood right there. That's a small takeaway. I thought that rule of the streets was kind of cringy, because they'd be like, first rule of the streets, never trust anybody. And there's that one point where she's like, so tell me, what's the second rule of the streets? And she's like, she straight up goes, somebody always gets hurt. And I'm just, what? This is Kung Fu Panda in Great China, not Compton, California. What do you mean the first rule of the streets? But but besides that, that was the only line of dialogue that I just wasn't a fan of. When Zen said it the first time, I actually wasn't that mad. I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Say that. Because I thought she was just saying that to get Poe off her back. But when they actually made that part of the dialogue for the rest of the movie, I was like, what? Dude, this is China, not Compton. Like, I already said that, but I just wasn't a big fan on the whole streets thing that they threw in. But at the end of the movie, when she gets picked as Dragon Warrior, I would rather it be Tigress. Because, alright, Tigress is in the movie, but at the very, very end, the ending was really well with this movie. But I do have to say, not Tigress, dude. Like, pick Tigress, not Zen. Zen just betrayed you. She's a criminal, and she literally has to serve 2 more years in the Valley of Peace prison. And that's another joke I liked in the movie, is the fact that it was a daycare on Saturdays. Because she's like, the Valley of the Peace prison sounds like a daycare. And he goes, it is a daycare on Saturdays. Just like, that's part of the Kung Fu Panda humor that I love. Like, speaking of the jokes that we can talk about, when he's sitting on there and those inner voices are all surrounding him, all those different heads of Poe are like talking. There's like 30 of them. And there's that one in the back. She's like, should we eat a cookie? And Poe's just trying to like shut them all up. And then the inner Shifu's is really funny too. Because later in the movie, we find out that Shifu has inner Poes. And he tries to get them out of his head. And I don't know, dude. But that was just such a funny joke. And it's even more funnier that I felt like Shifu more represented us. Because in that first Kung Fu Panda movie, we were all rooting for Poe. Because he was just a nice, innocent panda. Dude, we straight up recruited a crook that worked for like a villain as Dragon Warrior. So I understand why Shifu's meditating. And that's how we all feel. And then Poe's little inner light voice gets in his head. And then it shows Oogway's peach tree. Then Poe's peach tree. And then Zen's peach tree. And I thought that was really cool. I just wish that was someone else's peach tree and not Zen's. Also, one thing I liked about the movie is that the pelican character was really funny. The pelican and the fish, where it was a pelican sitting around. And I was like, this pelican's talking right now. And it's revealed that what's talking is this pelican has a fish in its mouth that's speaking. And it's a secret boat captain that's driving them around. And it's really, really cool. I actually enjoyed that character. But I just wanted to talk about that because they left him out of the marketing. And he was actually a decent, big part of the movie. But the spoilers that I want to talk about is that final fight between Poe and the chameleon. Because, boy, did a lot of stuff happen there. Now, if you remember at the beginning of the movie, Tai Lung runs into town, so those villagers will come in, and Zen is Poe's only option to get help to fight Chameleon. So they come into contact, and once she gets that staff, it's already part of the trailer that she's trying to get everyone's kung fu, but her moral is that she never had Kung Fu and was rejected by all the masters. So what she does is she takes all the masters and all the villains out of the portal, and I mean all of them. The only one we saw was Tai Lung, and that was for pure nostalgia bait. But I'm talking Lorne Shin, General whatever his name was from the third movie. I'm sure I'll remember it. They were all showing up in this, and it just like, I expected just for it to be Tai Lung. And then she says, bring me Lord Shin. So we get to see her take out all of these villains. And Tai Lung's action scene was so good. The way he was able to down half of the guards before Chameleon was able to steal his power. So Tai Lung hit his like nerve strike at one point. Did all his moves to like make you remember, oh yeah, that's something that he did in the first movie. And they like completely kept that. And that was so cool. Then once he said, bring me General, whatever his name was, that was awesome. Seeing her take down all those people was awesome. So they were all caged up. Po breaks back in and sees all of his old villains, and Tai Lung starts fussing at him. He sees all the old masters, Master Rhino, Master Wolf, everyone, and then she goes down to fight. He goes down to fight Chameleon, and Chameleon shapeshifts into every one of them, and it's like the coolest battle in the whole movie, hitting all of their special abilities, all of their techniques, everything they can do, transforming into Tai Lung, Lord Shin, General whatever his name is, Master Ox, Master Bull. It was just such a cool fight scene because you got to see Po fight every one of these characters with all of their kung fu skills, and then at the end, she transforms into all of them and makes like this peacock lion hybrid creature that's like a mixture of all of them, and it's like this dragon with peacock wings, and that was kind of disturbing, but such a cool scene. Like, they even say it in the movie, he goes, kind of disturbing, but cool. But it's just like awesome. And then at the end, when they're fighting, when they're in Po's side, Po straight up goes out to fight him, and Tai Lung's sitting up there rooting for Po, and that's where I want to go ahead and talk about it. Because you guys keep saying Tai Lung is like doing something he wouldn't. Well, he was kind of like dragged out from his piece and beat up, and that's why like General Wolf is like, who are you rooting for, dude? Because he was like rooting for Chameleon at first because he was being a jerk to Po, but then he was like, uppercut, come on, down, left, right. And it just, I don't know, it felt weird in a way, but at the same time, it kind of made sense. But what really got to me was after Po finally got to do his little skadoosh and finally kill the Chameleon once and for all and got taken into the spirit realm by Tai Lung. Tai Lung straight up, I mean, it is respectful because in real Kung Fu, if someone's a higher power, he bows to him and says, Master Oogway was right about you. Bowing to him, I understand. But him straight up becoming friends with Po, I'm not a big fan of. I don't get it. And also, at first, I was mad that Zen was the one that got to take out Chameleon. Because that person took her in. That had to have been hard for her. But I did like Po's little finishing skadoosh move when he revealed that he wanted to see what he could do. He said, it's not faking. It's just good intentions. And yeah. I really like seeing Po standing next to all the villains. I was like, this is so cool. This fight is so cool. The movie it was good, in my opinion. I just had to get that little Zen thing and Tai Lung thing out of my chest. Also, if you're wondering, I did like how they explained the Furious Five, and at the end of the movie, when they train them, the post-credit scene, or the credits in general, is them training the Furious Five, or the Furious Five training Zen, and they didn't have the voice actors. It was a cool little montage that lasted for like a minute or two. And you know what? I like that. I like what they did with the movie. Yeah, so Kung Fu Panda 4, I'll give it a watch. I'll say you guys should go check this movie out if you're a fan of the franchise. It is a solid 7.5 out of 10. Keep it here on my review at Cinema Dude. I hope you all had an amazing day, and I will see you later.